I am so excited to introduce all of you to Petr, who is the CEO of Shovel. And it's an amazing new tool that can really streamline all the organizational and executive functioning needs of a college student. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm going to let Petr take it from here.
Thank you so much, Erica. Before I share my screen, I kind of want to talk about some of the um, feedback that I've received from executive functioning coaches in terms of what they do when they are helping students with time and task management. And I built Shovel based on my own experience, where I wasn't going to do things that were not easy. And the executive function coaches in my college wanted me to use paper planners and maybe even print out a schedule for the week and then create a new one for the next week and make adjustments. And as soon as something changed, the whole plan would go out the window. So it was not something that I stuck with. And um, then I started using a Google Calendar and I could create my schedule, which was great, but it didn't communicate with my task list. So if I had tasks somewhere else, it was hard for me to plan them and replan them in my Google Calendar. And on top of that, I had, syllabi from the four classes. It would be up to 300 tasks, and things were very disconnected. So I built Shovel for students because I didn't see that there were tools like that. LMSs like Canvas and Brightspace are great for creating the assignments for professors, but it's not good for actual planning for the students. And that's what I'm gonna show you today. And at first, I'll show you kind of what Shovel looks like when it's fully set up. Then I'll show you what the setup process looks like and how you can help your student go through it quickly. And then I'll switch back to show you some of the more advanced features that students can use day to day. Does that sound okay, Erica?
Sounds great. I really appreciate this.
Awesome. Awesome. So let me share my screen. This is Shovel. And as you can notice, it looks very similar to any other calendar apps that students may be used to. But I want to point out a few key differences right from the start. First of all, in the left sidebar, students can see their courses and their activities. And we have a drag and drop builder, so students can just drag and drop their events directly into their calendar. And we also have the plan sidebar, which is showing all the tasks that students need to get done. So I'll show you throughout the demo that students can create their tasks or even import them from different LMSs and then estimate them and then plan those tasks. Sorry, I'll need to scroll to some tasks that are due in the future. And then they can plan those tasks into their calendar to make sure that they can plan when they will work on each task and for how long. So that is what we're gonna try to get to, and a lot of cool other features along the way. But that's the basis of Shovel, is to truly help students see their time visually, uncover their study time, and let them plan their tasks into their schedule. So now let me show you what it looks like when you would be starting with students from scratch when they first create their account. So first of all, they need to set their school's time zone. For example, if they are not in their school's time zone when they're setting it up, and then they'll be moving to campus that's in a different time zone, it's good to set the time zone so that their tasks are due at the right time. Then to make their schedule creation easier, we allow students to put in when their classes end. So that way we end repeating classes at the end of classes, and we end repeating all of their other activities that may be in their calendar at the end of their exam period. That way, all of the setup is super fast. Then students can enter their holidays, and when they do that, they can select whether they will study during this holiday or not. So for example, if the holiday is just a Friday, they're on campus, maybe they want to make sure that some of that free time during that holiday is identified as available study time. But if they're going home for Thanksgiving, they know they will not have time to study, so that then they can uncheck that I will study during this holiday. And this is important because in the background, Shovel is actually a time calculator that can tell students if they can get everything done on time or if they need to change their schedule. And I'll get into that in just a second. So that's holidays. They're optional, so students don't need to waste too much time during the setup process here. And next is the awake time. And this is when the time calculation really starts. So students cannot study when they're asleep. And that's why when they set their awake time, that sets boundaries for their available study time. And then once they start putting in events into their schedule, it starts to subtract their available study time that Shovel keeps track of all the time in real time. And wake time is a default here, but students can change it for individual days afterwards inside the app as well. And next are courses. So students can add courses from Canvas, Brightspace, Moodle, or Google Classroom by linking their accounts. And this is a live connection. So if professors make changes, we will be able to see those changes as well. And if students are using other school systems that are not listed here, most likely they can still add those into Google Calendar and connect Google Calendar to Shovel, and we will be able to import those events and tasks as well. So now let me just show you what things look like when students create their courses manually. So I can do some courses here. And next I can maybe change some of the colors. And we even have an individualized color picker, which is we receive feedback from the students that they want to have full control over their colors. And yeah, it's super easy. And once they're satisfied with their courses, then we start with some default activities. And as I mentioned before, Shovel is a time calculator, and we're trying to find when students can study and for how long, not only to tell them if they can get everything done, but also to show them where they can plan their tasks into. So really thinking about their activities that they do every week is important, because that way they can build quite an accurate schedule to uncover their study time. So here they can add in other activities that may be doing, maybe call parents once a week or something like that. Maybe they don't want to do that, but they have the option to add any other activity so that it is easy for them to create it inside the calendar as well. So once they're done with that, then we take them into the Shovel calendar. And as you can see, this time has already passed. So now my available study time is showing for Friday and Saturday. I can use this slider to either zoom in or out. And you can see that the available study time here is those 17 hours. And I can also adjust my awake time above here for individual days. So if I do that here, maybe on Friday nights, I'll be out a little bit later, and I can just change it for the Friday events. And maybe Saturday, I'll be waking up a little bit later. So also just Saturdays, and then Sundays, wake up later as well. And now maybe my awake time is adjusted for what I actually do. And now you can see that it changed up a little bit in here too. So that's what students will be starting out with. And the next step is really creating their schedule. So what we teach them to do, and I'm sure you do too, is to create the anchors in their schedule, which are the events that they cannot move. So they should be showing up to class and to lecture and their sections every day. So it's a good thing, probably a good thing to start with are their class times. So they can just drag and drop. And when they click on repeat, they have the option to select weekly and select the repeat pattern. Or if they have some crazy schedule, they can even select individual days when an event repeats, which is something Google Calendar doesn't even allow last time I checked. So super easy to create their schedule. And let me just see Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. And now when I confirm this, I also select that since I know it's a course, we know that it will stop repeating at the end of classes. So that's automatically pre-selected. So as opposed to a Google Calendar, all of this would have to be done manually. We're already preloading that very quickly. And I can just drop that in, do another one. And now what you can see is that we are showing some free time between those classes. And it's showing me 1 hour here. And that means that between my economics class and my math class, I have an hour of available study time. And maybe I plan to study for my next class before my math class, but this may not be as accurate or may not be as realistic as it is, because I may need to walk from class to class. So students can even enter a commute after their economics class because they know they'll be talking to students, walk to the next class, sit down before they can start studying. It may take some time, so they can put in, for example, a 20-minute commute. And now we're showing that they have only 40 minutes of available study time in their schedule during this time. And the goal here is to really create a schedule that is representative of what students do kind of on a week-to-week basis. So let me switch to the other account or the other term where things have been already filled in based on kind of what a college schedule may look like. So there may be some morning routine, then walking to class, having classes. Students can enter what location it's in, and if it's a lecture or maybe a section, things like that. And you can start to notice that there are study blocks scattered throughout. And then one detail I want to show you are these extra study blocks or extra blocks. So not every free time in a calendar is usable, and every student is different based on how much time they need to actually get something done. So me as a student, if I didn't see at least a 45-minute study block, I just knew I wasn't going to get much done because it took me a long time to open my bag, get set up, and kind of start focusing. But some students may have only needed 30 minutes. So for me, this 30 minutes would be extra time. But other students could go in and adjust their study time here. And let me show you what that does. Here we have a slider that allows students to set their minimum study time block. So if something is equal to or smaller than what I set, the value I set in this slider, it will suddenly become extra study time. Or no, sorry, if it's smaller than what I set here. So here I set my minimum study time block to be 1 hour and 10 minutes. And suddenly all of these 1 hour study blocks became extra time, or free blocks became extra time. So not being identified as time to get things done. Students can obviously still do things during this time, but it's not being calculated in Shovel so that students don't think they have more study time than they actually do. So some customization here for students as well. And now when students are happy with their schedule, they put in their lunch, their classes, maybe their workouts, and as also their me time. And this is something I talk about quite a lot is students need to know when they will not be studying. So for me, those were Friday nights, Saturday mornings, Saturday nights. As a student, I just did not want to study during those times. So it's good to block them out with what we just call me time. It may be social time, whatever it is. Students don't really know what they will be doing, but they know they will not be studying. And that way they have something to look forward to, but also are not being too optimistic about how much study time they actually do. So once they set that up, it's time to move into step number 2, which is understanding their workload. And as I mentioned, when I was in college, I would have over 300 tasks a semester because there was at least 1 to 2 readings for each class, and it would meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I would have quizzes and problem sets in every single class, and things just it was overwhelming to keep track of everything just in my syllabi. So we want to make sure that students have every task from every class in one place. And it's very easy in Shovel. So students can import those tasks from Canvas, Brightspace, Moodle, or Google Classroom, or create their tasks manually. And then they can just go into each course and even drill in a little bit because they are able to organize their tasks based on the task category. And this is really cool because then they can manipulate multiple tasks at once. So, for example, when they're creating tasks, I can say quiz, and I can say that it's in math. I can also set the due date. And here we're showing when the class meets and if a task is due during the day when the class meets, we immediately pre-select that the task is due in class. If it's not, it's typically due at 11:59, so students can just scroll down to select 11:59 just to make things easy. And then the next thing we do is, or we help students do, is set their task estimate. So, for example, if they're studying for a quiz, they can set that they'll need 2 hours of study time to get a good grade on their quiz. And then there's also a field to set the start date for a class. So I kind of talk about the rule of thumb of each additional hour that a student will need to spend on a task, they should start a day sooner so that they can spread it out and chunk the task up. So here, maybe I would say not 3 days, but select 2 days. And we also have a repeat task function so that I can create multiple quizzes at the same time if they're typically due at the same time every week. So students can set that as well, and they can also set a priority for their tasks. For example, if it's a big exam that they need to start studying for 15 days ahead because they need at least 15 hours of study time, they can also set the priority to kind of have the task stand out a little bit more, and they can also filter their tasks by priority. But anyways, so that's creating tasks. And once students create those tasks, then they can also manipulate them at the same time. So for example, if they have quizzes and they study for the first quiz, but don't receive the grade that they hope for. Maybe they think that they decide that they need to spend more time on the future quizzes. And here they can just select the remaining quizzes and adjust the time that they need for the future quizzes. So that's what is good about organizing their tasks into task categories, is being able to manipulate multiple tasks at the same time. So now students should be pretty well organized. They know when they can study and for how long, and they have all of their tasks from all of their classes in one place. They can drill into different task categories, adjust multiple tasks at once, and they have also estimated their tasks and set their start dates. And while we're on estimation, I want to show you one more task category that we have, which are readings. And this is a feature that I built into Shovel based on my own experience, because I would just think, oh, I have a reading due in 2 days or tomorrow. And that's all the thought I would put into it. But then once I printed out the reading and sat down to do it, I realized it was a single space PDF and not a double space PDF, and it was 30 pages and not 10 pages. And I did not leave myself enough time to get it done. So if students, and if you do this with your students, kind of the preloading of the semester at the beginning of the semester, students can plan much better, and then they can make adjustments as well. And because reading times can be calculated, we don't just do an estimate. We allow students to put in the task details or the reading details, so that we can estimate for them how much the reading will take. So for example, if I do a task here, read chapter 2, I can put it into the economics class and then select the category read for class. Then I can also select the reading source, and students can enter new reading sources here based on what they are for each class. And in this class, I have to read from my economics textbook, but I also have some single space PDFs and some double space PDFs. And here, oh, the numbers actually should be probably flipped because single space will take longer. But for my economics textbook, maybe the time per page is 8 minutes. For a novel, it may be 2 minutes, right? So it's individual per reading source per student, and they can always adjust this for what they think it is. The default is 5 minutes, and then students can make adjustments, and those adjustments will be applied to all of their readings from that reading source. And if students actually even track how long they do their readings for and how many pages they read during a certain study block, we will be able to do a calculation and compare it to their estimates, and they will be able to adjust them going forward very easily with the click of a button, which is something I'll show in just a little bit. But so now students should have a really good understanding. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think I showed you how it's calculated. So here I can select economics, read for class, select the reading source, and then I can enter the number of pages. So this is typically in the syllabus, but just reading chapter 3 doesn't tell me much. But typically there are pages associated with chapter 3. So it may say pages 16 to 24. So if I put in a page range or the total number of pages, we'll calculate how many pages that is and how much time the student will need to get the reading done. So now students have every task organized in one place. They have estimated it. If it's readings, we have calculated the time that they'll need for each reading for them. And Shovel has become a pretty powerful tool because it can now look at the entire semester and compare their available study time with the time they need to get things done. And it shows every single task on a graph that's either above the zero line or below the zero line. And we call this the cushion. So it's the amount of study time that students can either waste or not and be able to get the task done between the task start date and the deadline. So 1 second, I'll just drink a little bit of water. Okay. So in this example, I am missing 1 hour and 19 minutes of study time to be able to get this problem set done between September 29th and October 4th at 11:59 p.m. So Shovel is able to look into the future, look at all of the tasks that are due in that period, and tell me that I just physically don't have enough time, so I need to make some changes. And the same thing is happening here with my final paper because I probably have 2 or 3 other finals at the end of the semester, and I'm just not giving myself enough time to get them done. And the only way to create extra study time is to either delete some events, maybe some me time from my calendar, or start on my tasks sooner. And it's kind of up to the student and up to you when you're working with the student to see what would work better for each task. So let me go through these examples a little bit. So here I'm already starting sooner. So 5 days before the task. And because it's a problem set, I know I have a problem set due every single week in math, and I just don't want to start sooner. So maybe I can delete some me time from my calendar before the task is due to be able to get it done. So I see it's due on October 4th, and I can go into my calendar and go to October 4th. I can see all of my tasks that are due here on October 4th, and I see it here, but I can also see it in the deadline flag that I have here. And that's when the task is due. And I see that I have some me time during the day before it, but not a lot of other times that I could delete or events that I could delete from my calendar. So I settle on maybe decreasing my me time for this day, which now created some extra study time in my schedule. And I can go back into my charts, cushion, and now I see that I did indeed create extra study time to get the task done. So now I can relax. It's like, okay, if I use my time wisely, I do have enough time to actually get this done. So I'm much more confident in my ability to get things done, and I don't have to be stressed about not knowing if I can even get everything done. And the next example is this final research paper where I'm missing 5 hours to get it done. And I can check when I plan to start working on it, and it's 20 days. So maybe I can start sooner and see if maybe starting 10 days sooner will give me some extra study time during those days to get it done. And now when I change it, it does. So now I brought up my task above the zero line as well. It's still yellow, indicating that such a big task, having only a 3 hour cushion is probably not enough. So, or it's enough, but I have to be really careful with how much how well I am using my study time. So I want to be a little bit cautious. And that's the cushion. And it is really showing the student visually when they have a lot of stuff to do and if they have the ability to get it done so that they can make smart decisions before they run into trouble. And what we see with students is that they typically see 3 red spikes that go below the zero line because during midterms and finals, right? They just don't set soon enough start dates. They think they'll have enough time 1 week before 4 big assignments are due, when in reality, they just don't. So it's good for them to see it and make the adjustments before they run into trouble. We also have a timeline. that is showing students the start dates and the deadlines of their tasks and how they overlap and what the cushion on each task is as well. And let's say that students did this with you, this all of this setup when you first start working with them or when the semester starts. So now they are pretty organized because they have their schedule. And obviously, when things change, it's super easy to make adjustments as opposed to doing things on paper. And they have all of their tasks in one place. They have estimated them, set start dates, and they even know that their schedule is realistic. They can do things, right? Sometimes students find out that maybe they're taking too many hard classes or they belong to too many clubs that are taking too much time from their studies and they just physically don't have the time, so they can make adjustments uh, before they are in a bad spot. And once they know they can get everything done, it's time to move into the weekly, day-to-day activities of how they will be interacting with Shovel. And this is mainly done by planning their tasks and tracking their progress and making adjustments. So this doesn't take a long time. And we typically advise students to just sit down once a week, maybe Sunday night, and look at the week ahead and start planning, right? They don't need to plan out their entire semester at once. They just need to plan out their most important tasks to them at the time. And that's why we also have a filter, and they can filter the tasks that are due this week, maybe next week, and within start date. And this within start date filter is uh, really cool, or I like it a lot because we can show the most relevant tasks that are coming up now, but also the big tasks that may be coming up, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, but they should start planning and chunking into their calendar already. So they would see those tasks in one list without being overwhelmed by the 100 other tasks they have to do in the following weeks. So once they set their filters, they can see their tasks, and it's time to start planning their week. And they can just take a task and drop it into available study time. So here I'm holding the quiz for quiz 13. And if you noticed, it was a 2 hour task. I had 2 hours left to plan. And when I planned it into a big enough study block, we slid it out all the way until it was the 2 hours. And now the task is fully planned. But what happens if I take a big task and I drop it into a smaller study block? So this is a 5 hour task. I have not planned it yet anywhere. And I plan it into a 3 hour study block. We slide it out all the way until the study block ends. But now we're showing that I still have 2 hours left to plan. So I can take the task and plan it somewhere else. So let's see this 1 hour and 40 minute study block. I still have 20 minutes, and maybe I want to plan it here at the end of this study block. And now the task is fully planned. And of course, if I maybe adjust this, then the task becomes it's still showing me that I have the task left to plan or time left to plan because I just don't want to use up an entire 3 hour study block for this task. So it depends on the student what they want to do, but we're giving them all of the information they need to plan things out fully. And the goal here is to just sit down on Sunday night and make sure that their most relevant tasks are fully planned or at least partially planned if there are those big tasks that are coming up. So if I was going to plan this problem set, maybe I would plan it, chunk it up and not do all of the 9 hours at the same time, but I would start planning it into my calendar for when I plan to do it.
Now,
And when it's Go
I have a
ahead.
quick question.
Yep.
What happens if you gave yourself 5 hours in your plan, but you got it done in 3 hours? Is there
Great
a way to
question.
change that?
Yes. Yes. So, for example, now when it's time to start working on a task, I can start a timer to track my progress, or I can just say, I am done studying for this. I'm done studying, and um, I did use this study block. So now I recorded that I studied for 3 hours, and that's great. But I can also say, I am actually done with the task, and I can mark it complete.
Oh, nice.
And what happened now is that the future time was deleted.
I
That's
love that.
planned in my calendar. So I said I'm done. Now I the times that's been planned is now opened up for other things.
Yeah, beautiful.
Um, Another question that I get often is what happens if students don't use the study time, right? Things happen all the time, and students may not follow their plans. So here, if they um, don't check, sorry, I'll, I'll uncheck this. If they don't mark this time as used, these 3 hours after the time passes will actually go back into the task to remind students, hey, you didn't do this, either check it off or plan it somewhere else. And students can do that by dragging it again from the sidebar or just taking the entire study block and moving it to the next location where they can adjust it again.
So this forces them to interact with their calendar. So as soon as they're done with a study block, they should go into their calendar and just indicate that they got these things done.
Correct. And they will also receive a notification on their phones when, or they can choose to receive that once a study block is completed to either have them mark the task as used or mark the time as used so they can check things off kind of based on what their schedule is saying. So, yes, it's kind of bringing them back so that they see, okay, I did this, I didn't do this, and I can make those adjustments. It can happen that students kind of know what they have to do. They look at their schedule, and at the end of the day, they can just go back and see, okay, oh, I did this. So they can come back and make adjustments, and it's all interactive and all very flexible to what the student is actually doing.
Well, I like that because it forces a student to go into their calendar and look at it. Because how often do we schedule things and then you forget to look at your calendar and you're like, oh, I should have looked at my calendar. So I like it. I like that. I like that feature a lot. I think it gets them into and interacting with their calendar more.
Definitely, definitely. And it helps them stay on track a little bit better. One of the things that I struggled with as a student was um, not knowing what to focus on once I sat down to study. And I knew I had maybe three, four different tasks, and it took me some time to decide on what to do. And once I decided, I was second guessing myself of, oh shoot, should I be working on something else? Will I still have enough time? That's kind of the stuff that we're trying to prevent, right? If they know that they'll be working on their history essay during this time, and all of their other tasks are also planned in the schedule, that gives them a sense of relief of, okay, I can just focus on this one task. I gave myself 3 hours to get it done. If I need more, I can make adjustments, but I'll try to do it in these 3 hours. And then I know I will have time for other tasks. They are planned in my calendar already, so I don't have to stress about it as much.
I love that because you can lose so much time shifting from task to task. Well, I'll do a little bit of this, I'll do a little bit of that. And this kind of forces you to do one thing at a time, unitask
Yes,
instead of multitask. Because
yes.
unitasking is far more efficient and effective than multitasking. So you're really teaching them another skill that's really important. I love that.
Definitely, definitely. That is one of the biggest things that it's helping students do is that, like you mentioned, eliminate the multitasking where they're just doing bits and pieces of things, but not making enough progress on one task. Um, One other thing I wanted to mention is, yes, they can start the timer, which also helps them initiate the task, right? It's sometimes students struggle to actually um, get started when they sit down. So starting a timer for a specific task helps them see, maybe uh, the hour goes by and they didn't get any of the problems set done. That's kind of a reminder, oh, like I should have been working on this task. And um, uh, we do see that it's helping them focus in on a little bit more once they start the timer. That's also time task specific and lets them record their progress as well. And while I was talking about the readings, let me show you what that looks like. So when students plan a reading into their schedule, and then they record how many pages they read during this study block. So let's say I read 10 pages. I still have 17 left, but I only got through 10. Now, when I mark this time as used, we are showing students, hey, your previous time per page estimate for reading source was 4 minutes and 52 seconds, but you actually read at a pace of 8 minutes and 18 seconds per page. Would you like to use today's average as the new estimate or keep the old estimate? And if they use today's average as the new estimate, all of the tasks that are from that reading source will now adjust for how much time it actually takes them to read one page. So we try to stay with the student as much as possible based on what they're doing, and materials may get harder or easier. So we're trying to help them plan more accurately. And same thing here. If I finish my problem set sooner, then I can again go into my task list and go to math, problem set, select the remaining problem sets, and adjust my time here so that I can be more accurate with my planning. So that kind of plays in on the, okay, now that you've done this, let's review. Did you get the grades that you were looking for? And you can make adjustments very quickly as well. And students also have some charts so they can see what they have done in the past and how their day was broken up, how their week was broken up, if they followed their plan or not. So did they plan when they planned their study blocks, did they actually use it up or not? And what tasks did they spend the most time on, and how much time they spent on their tasks every week, broken up by the courses as well. And they can look into the future too to see what's still coming up and how it's broken down. So in economics, it's quizzes, problem sets, their readings, kind of
Wow.
how they're broken out, and how much workload is due each week as well to really give them a cool view of everything. And yeah, we have some cool personalization options as well. Students can see their month view and they can select what they want to see. So just their deadlines or just their exams, things like that. So yeah, a lot more to show you, but I think that's a good introduction to what Shovel can do for students and how coaches can work with students. So for example, at first, students may just want to create a schedule, right? And coaches can go help them do that. And then maybe a few weeks later, or even a semester later, they're ready to now create their tasks. But instead of saying, okay, now that you created your schedule in Google Calendar, let's create your tasks in some spreadsheet or some other to-do list app. Why don't you use Shovel so that you can start um, you can start merging the two, right? And then when they're ready to start planning their tasks, it's super easy to just drag and drop them into their schedule without needing to well, they actually can't even do it in Google Calendar and some other task list. And now they're stuck with two solutions that are not really built for them. So they can build different skills and habits on top of each other gradually in one app without needing to switch to different platforms, which I think is makes it much more likely that they actually follow through because it's much easier.
Yeah, it's everything is in one place. It's all integrated. You can see it on one page. You've got a lot of drag and drop features. You also have features for being able to analyze time, which is
Hmm.
incredibly important. I love the little features that you have, like adding in commute time, little reminders of when deadlines are coming up and the color coding. You've really thought of just about everything. But I also know just from talking to you is sometimes, you might say like, "Oh, I'm really excited. We're adding this new feature." So it sounds like you're adding new features all the time, and that I assume that you accept feedback.
Definitely. So Shovel was built on my experience, what my mentor taught me, but also on the student feedback. So we do calls with our students all the time based on, and we ask them like, what would you like to see? What do you maybe not enjoy out of the functionalities, or what can we change? So then we make adjustments in our personalization, or we add new features based on what the student feedback is. So it's been a long journey to get to this point because when we first started with Shovel, it did not look like this, even remotely, right? Our first idea was the cushion, because students know, as opposed to professionals, what they are responsible for like every single task to the last reading, right, from the beginning of the semester for the next 3 weeks. And they can start estimating those tasks. And based on that, they also know their schedule. So the first idea was, let's just tell them if they can get it done or not. So they can make better decisions. And that was the first step. And then we started thinking about how could we merge the schedule and the task in a much easier way. And we had different sliders for planning tasks, but then um, through a lot of work with the students, we ended up on this solution where it's just a super easy drag and drop functionality.
That's amazing. I love how quick and easy it is to schedule things to. So I would imagine that they can even do a semester schedule really quite rapidly.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, it creating a schedule should not take that long, right? Like as I was showing in the beginning, you just do drag and drop for their classes and their activities, and then if they want to be really detailed and really think about it, maybe it will take 35 minutes to get their schedule where it needs to be. But it doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning because they can make adjustments, right? When I was making it on a paper, every adjustment, I needed a new piece of paper and it would be
Oh,
another
forget
hour.
about it. Yeah.
So
Now, you
yeah,
may have
it's just much
told
more
this,
flexible.
told us this, and maybe I'm just not thinking about it because there's a lot to absorb here. But if I wanted to add all of my tasks for economics all at once, because I had the syllabus right here and I just wanted to enter in all of my tasks, is there a quick and easy way to do that?
In So are there just in next to you on a syllabus?
Yeah,
So it's super quick to add task. You can just type in whatever
there you go. So
task
you could just
one,
type in the
and
whole sequence.
you can just type it in, and then it's just a quick click. So what is this task? When is
Hmm.
it due? Right? So super quick to just add them and estimate them, but we also have the repeat task feature. So if it's the task that
Mm.
repeats, you can set the dates and then we show when the task repeats based on the repeat pattern that you set. And if I click this, I don't want to do that because it's for my
Right.
demo account. But if I did this, I would just create 30 tasks within, a minute.
I
So
love
very
how it
quick.
gives you like a little calendar, but it gives you little dots on where your class is so that you don't have to go anywhere else to look at a calendar to see where they are. It tells you these are the
Yes,
days that your class is meeting.
exactly. So it's much easier to, you know, look
Yeah.
from the syllabus back into Shovel because I went through this myself, right? Setting up syllabi, doing all this, and I was noticing this is what would make the inputs faster. This is what would help me. So I was not, um, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but kind of thinking, let's just create some planner and recommend it to students when it's just not that useful, right? Like I was in,
Yep.
like as a student, what would help me the most?
And I love how you can even put in everyday tasks and you make these suggestions. You have these default suggestions or things like laundry,
Yeah,
power nap. It gives them ideas on things that could be really, really helpful to them. But then it also
definitely.
allows you to add new ones in case you have something else that you want to do. Maybe you like to meditate or you do
Yes,
breathing or you like to take cold showers. You can integrate those into your schedule so that you can really meet all of your needs in one place.
definitely. And you don't have to be doing them every week. So for example, if I just want to do a power nap on this Monday, I can just quickly create it like this. Like it doesn't have to be for the next Mondays, right? But if it's something that I do, I can quickly drag it in instead of I think in Google it's you have to drag on and then select
Yep.
what calendar it's on, as opposed to here you just drag and drop it right in.
So like if I had scheduled a study time and I'm like, I can't. I just can't do this. I'm too tired. I could just move my study time to somewhere else, put in a power nap, and then go to bed.
Yes, exactly.
Ugh,
Very
love it.
quickly, very quickly. And if, for example, there is some study time or unplanned study time, so what you were referring to was study time, so I would just drag it in here and maybe put the power nap here
Yep.
just super quickly. Um,
Oh, which is great
but
for those days where you're sick and
yeah,
you've got a crazy schedule, you can literally just take all of your everything that you need to do, scoot it on to some later days, and then just open up your schedule.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And then maybe bring back me time or block it off. But if you know you're not going to use it, it's also, you don't have to adjust your schedule exactly, right? Like we are doing the calculation to be looking into the future and just to tell you, can you get this done or not? Should you make some changes? Are you just overloading or not? But then the day to day, obviously things change all the time and it is super easy to adjust. But if there's a study time and they don't use it, it's totally okay. It's even okay if students don't open up Shovel for an entire week and they just are able to get things done on their own. And then they come back. All that happened is that they are back on today, and the tasks that they didn't complete are in here in the overdue tasks, and they can just check, okay, I did this, I did all of these. I can just mark them all as done.
Oh, that's
So
huge.
I am to, back to today. What do I have coming up? And let me start planning it right away. So
That's
they don't
cool.
have to do anything to make the app keep to have Shovel keep working for them, right? They've
Yes.
preloaded everything and they're ready to get back right into it.
Right. So they don't have to be like, oh, I don't even want to look at it because I've got to check off each of my assignments. That's going to be a pain in the butt. They don't have to worry
Right.
about that. It's just right there. You can scan it, check a button, and then you're in the present.
Yep,
Beautiful.
exactly. And
Wow.
here it's also, they don't have to click on the task to mark it complete here. They can just see, oh, I did that. And they can just mark a task complete in the
How did you do
sidebar.
that? How did
Yeah.
you?
So when I hover a task, we
Yeah.
show there's a
Mark
mark
is complete.
complete, and I just mark it, and it's
That's
done.
very satisfying. I like that little the
We
sparkles that make it
try to make
disappear.
getting things done fun.
I love it.
Awesome. So I think that that's a good that I think we covered everything. That's what students get
Yeah.
when they get shovel, and hopefully yeah, coaches will um, find it that it's the right tool to help them help their students.
Yeah, I think whether for executive functioning, I feel like it's almost a must. Granted, everybody has a different way of how they like to organize, but this seems to hit a lot of different ways of processing. It's very visual, it's uh very organized, very sequential. It allows you to see the big picture. It really helps with time management. It hits really all the higher level executive functioning, planning, time management, organization, and reasoning. Um,
Definitely.
but it's just it simplifies it. So in many ways, it's going to create more time. Because I was noticing even in the schedule that you created, there was still a lot of free time in there.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely,
And
and
that feels
um,
beautiful.
definitely, definitely. And it helps create those routines, right? It helps students to actually see their day, kind of follow it. I think in Jocko Willing said that the discipline makes you free. It's if you create your schedule and you do follow it, you will find you have more available study time because you're wasting way less time than you would by keeping your tasks in your head, not knowing what to focus on at a specific time, and just being stressed out. Right? I hated the parties that I went to where I knew I shouldn't be here because I didn't get my stuff done, and I don't know if I can get the next stuff done. Here it's I blocked it off. I'm going to this party. I'm going to go hang out. I know things are planned. I will have time to get it done, even if I go. Right? It's that anxiety, um,
Yeah,
kind of ameliorating aspect to it.
you're right. So anybody that experiences academic anxiety, this could be an incredible tool for that.
Definitely.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was such a beautiful and comprehensive uh, demonstration that you gave us, and I can't wait to share it with my audience.
Thank you so much.